Good morning to you all. In the previous class, we have studied about the electric potential due to a single charge. And this class, we need to derive an expression for the electric potential due to an electric dipole and also the electric potential due to a system of charges when large number of charges are present in space. So what will be the electric potential at a given point because of all those charges that we need to derive. So we'll be starting up with this electric potential due to an electric dipole. Before doing the derivation, you must be familiar with two mathematical tools that we'll be using it in the derivation to come. One is the cosine law. You people should know that what is cosine law. So please write it in your notebook that what is cosine law. We will be using it later on when we'll be deriving the expression for the electric potential due to an electric dipole. We will be using it very frequently. So you people should know that what is cosine law. It's very simple law actually for triangles. For any triangle such that you are knowing the sides of the triangle, ABC is a triangle. If you are knowing the sides AB, BC and CA, you can be writing the cosine law like this. So this is a triangle that is given to us. And if I need to write the cosine law for this triangle, provided I am aware of this angle theta between sides AB and AC, I can be writing it like this. That BC square, the square of the side opposite to the angle. So this is my theta, opposite to it is this BC, square of the side opposite to this angle, that is BC square, can be written as AB square plus AC square minus 2AB AC cos theta. So this is cosine law. All right. So you people should know how to apply it. We will be using it in the derivation to come. I'm telling you again that if we know the angle between two sides of a triangle, we can be writing this cosine law like this, that the square of the side opposite to the known angle, the BC square, is equal to AB square plus AC square minus 2AB AC cos theta, where theta is the angle between the sides AB and AC in this case. So the side opposite to the angle can be obtained like this with the help of cosine law. All right. And also we people should be familiar with the binomial theorem. I have told you this binomial theorem in class 11th, that what is a binomial theorem? For the expression 1 plus x to the power n, this expression can be reduced to 1 plus nx, provided the second term x is very, very lesser than 1. So that you know. I have told you about this binomial theorem in class 11th as well. So we will be using this binomial theorem in the derivation to come. So these two laws you people should be keeping in mind. Please write it in your notebook so that when we'll be using it, you can easily be having a reference from your notebook and you won't be lost that what actually has been going in the derivation. So binomial theorem, it says this thing that 1 plus x to the power n, it can be written as 1 plus nx, but the condition is that x has to be very, very less than 1. We can neglect the higher order terms. If this condition satisfies, we can neglect the higher order terms. All right. So these two things we'll be using. So let's start with our derivation. That is the electric potential due to an electric dipole. All right. So we need to find the potential due to an electric dipole. We all know what is an electric dipole, that two equal and opposite charges, if they are separated by some small distance, they will make an electric dipole. So we are having two charges, minus q that is placed at a point A and plus q is placed at a point B, and they are separated by a very small distance 2A. All right. And they are making our electric dipole like this. You can see it. At A, minus q is present, and at B, plus q is present, and O is the midpoint of this dipole. All right. The distance between A and B is 2A. That is what given to us. Okay. And we need to find the electric potential at a point P. And this point P is neither the equatorial point nor the axial point. It is any general point. If it would be an equatorial point, it should be lying at the perpendicular bisector. And if it would be an axial point, then it must be lying on the axis of the dipole. But it is neither lying on the axis nor lying on the perpendicular bisector. That's why it is any general point. So we will be deriving it for any general point, and then we can reduce it for the special cases of equatorial and the axial line. All right. So please draw this diagram. I'm just pausing a bit. Please draw it, and then I'll be resuming my explanation after you will be done drawing this diagram. So please, I'm giving you 1 minute to draw it. Please draw it in your notebook. We are having this dipole such that at point A, minus q charge is present, and point B, plus q charge is present. And from the center of the dipole O, there lies a point P at a distance small r. All right. So this point P is at a distance small r from the center O of the dipole. And this is any general point. It is neither the equatorial point nor the axial point. It is any general point which is lying at a distance r from the center of the dipole, such that it makes an angle theta with the line, this line segments OB and OP. All right. So the angle between OB and OP is theta. So when it is theta, the other angle becomes 180 degree minus theta. So this is what given to us. We are given with a dipole AB of length 2a, and we are given with a distance r of point P from the center of the dipole. We need to find the electric potential at this point P because of this dipole. All right. All other things R1 and R2 we have assumed by ourselves. Okay. So we will be you will be seeing it. You have just drawn the diagram beforehand. We'll be just seeing it that we will be taking it. So see, its dipole moment of this dipole is P, small p, that is from minus q to plus q. So always the dipole moment is from the minus charge towards the positive charge. And the value of this P is what? It is q into 2a, product of one of the charges of the dipole multiplied by the distance between them. So this is what P is. We will be using this later on. Write somewhere in your notebook, P is equal to q multiplied by 2a, where 2 is the distance, 2a is the distance between the charges, and q is the magnitude of the one of the charge of the dipole. All right. So please, we will be using this P later on. Let this capital P be a point. I've told you about this capital P point. It is at a distance r from the midpoint of the dipole, and theta be the angle between PO and the axis of the dipole OB. So this is the axis of the dipole OB, line joining the two charges of the dipole, and the angle between OB and PO is theta. All right. Now we need to find the potential at point P. So what we will be doing? We will be finding the potential at point P by the individual charges and then adding them up. That's what we will be doing. So first we need to find the electric potential at point P because of this plus q charge, and then we need to find the electric potential at point P because of the minus q charge, and then we need to add them in order to find the total potential at point P. And we have taken that distance between point B and point P is R1, and the distance between point A and point P is R2. That we have assumed by ourselves. It is not given in the question. This R1 and R2 is never given. All right. So in the derivation, we are given only with the dipole along with this R only. We have assumed this R1 and R2 by ourselves. We don't know where this point P is actually. We only know from these charges, obviously. We only know the distance of this point P from the midpoint, that is R. All right. So let's find the electric potential at point P because of the plus q charge. So we know from a single charge, the electric potential is given by kq upon r. All right. So we can write it like this, that V because of plus q charge, electric potential because of plus q charge is equal to kq upon r1, because the distance between this charge plus q and point P is r1 only. So it is kq upon r1. Similarly, the electric potential at point P because of the charge present at A, that is minus q charge, can be written as like this. The electric potential at point P due to the minus q charge is given as V because of minus q is equal to minus kq upon r2. Why we have taken minus? Because electric potential is a scalar quantity, and in scalar quantities we need to take the sign into consideration. All right. In vector, sign only gives us the direction, but in case of scalar we need to take the sign also. So we have taken the sign for this minus q charge. That's why it becomes minus kq upon R2. R2 is the distance between point P and A. All right. The total electric potential at point P is the sum of electric potential at point P because of these two charges. So we can write the total potential at point P due to the dipole is capital V, and it is V because of plus Q plus V because of minus Q. So V, adding these two, we get the total potential. That's why I've written kq upon R1 minus kq upon R2. I hope it is clear that why I have written this capital V, the total potential, as the sum of these two potentials, because it's a scalar quantity and we add the scalar directly. The algebraic sum of the potential because of the number of charges at a given point is the total potential at the point. All right. So that is the, in notes also I have told you that thing, that if we need to find the electric potential at a point because of the number of charges, then we will be adding the electric potential at the given point because of the individual charges. All right. So this is the total potential at point P. The physics ends over here. All that in the next step we need to do about the maths. We need to work about the maths only. The physics says that the potential at point P is the sum of the individual potential because of these two charges. So that's what we have found out. But we are not given with the values of R1 and R2. We need to find these values, and that's what we will be doing in the next slides to come. All right. So this is our final expression. Let's moving towards the next slide. This was we have obtained. So please mark it as equation 1. All right. Please mark it as equation number 1. This is your equation number 1. Okay. Write it like this. V is equal to kq you have taken common, and it is 1 upon R1 minus 1 upon R2, and mark it as equation number 1. All right. So we will be finding the values of 1 upon R1 and 1 upon R2, and then we'll be putting those values in equation number 1. All right. We need to convert this 1 upon R1 in terms of R and the known quantities to us. So whatever be the known quantities to us, in that only we can convert and find out. So this we need to find out this R1 in terms of R and theta. All right. This was given to us earlier, as well as this 2a was also given to us. The distance between the dipole we know. All right. This R1 and R2 we have assumed. So we need to convert these things up. So let's try to find out the value of R1 and R2. And for that, we need to use the cosine law. So using the cosine law in triangle OPB, we need to use the cosine law in triangle OPB. So just see this triangle, triangle OPB. All right. So this is a triangle, and we know this angle theta. So the side opposite to theta square, that is R1 square, can be written as A square plus R square minus 2AR cos theta, like this. So this is our cosine law. If we apply the cosine law in triangle OPB, this R1 square is equal to R square plus A square minus 2RA cos theta. All right. The square of the side opposite to the angle is equal to the square of the sides that are comprising of the angles minus 2RA cos theta. We can write it like this. Now we need to find out some more mathematical manipulations needed to be done. We have taken R square common. From this expression, we have taken R square common. So it becomes 1 plus A square upon R square minus 2A cos theta upon R. All right. This R gets cancelled out with 1 R square of the R, and 1 is in the denominator. So the equation becomes like this. I'm telling you again, we have applied the cosine law in triangle OPB, and then we have written this thing, R1 square is equal to R square plus A square minus 2RA cos theta, and we have taken this R square common, and when we have taken this R square common, we are left with 1 plus A square upon R square minus 2A cos theta by R. All right. Since this A, it should be A, not D. this A is very smaller than R. All right. So please make it A, not D. It has to be A because we have taken the distance in terms of A, not D. Let's make it as A. Since this A is very smaller than R, we know this. This R is a distance of point P from the center of the dipole, and A is the distance, half of the distance between the dipole. So we know the charges of the dipole, they are separated by a very small distance, and that's why this half of the distance of the dipole A is very, very smaller than R. The square, A square upon R square, the square of some smaller quantity is even lesser, and when you divide it with some quantity, it again becomes more smaller. So it is very, very less, and it can easily be neglected. All right. Since 10 to the power minus 5 is a small quantity, and when you square it up, it becomes 10 to the power minus 10. And when you divide it with some quantity, it becomes even lesser. So that's why we have removed this A square upon R square. It can easily be neglected because it is very, very less. So we are left with this thing. All right. So we have removed this thing, and then we have taken the square root. We have removed A square upon R square because it is very, very smaller quantity. And then we have taken the square root both sides. So when we have taken the square root, this R1 square root becomes R1 only, and the square root of R square becomes R only, and we have put a power of half on the remaining expression inside the bracket. All right. I'm telling you again, this A square upon R square is neglected because it is very small, and then we have taken the square root of this complete expression because we want R1. That's why the square root, it becomes R, and inside the bracket, when we have taken the square root, it becomes the power of the bracket is half. All right. So we are left with this expression. R1 is equal to R inside the brackets 1 minus 2a cos theta by R to the power half. That's what we are left with. In the expression, we do not require R1. We require 1 upon R1. All right. In this expression, we require the value of 1 upon R1. That's why we will be taking the inverse of it. So 1 upon R1, it becomes 1 by R. And when you take the inverse of this complete quantity, the power becomes minus. All right. I have written it as minus half. Please see this expression. What I have done, I have taken the inverse of R1. Why so? Because in the equation 1, I need 1 upon R1, not only R1. So that's why I have taken the inverse of this, and it becomes 1 by R. The inverse of R is 1 by R, and the inverse of a quantity having some power can be taken by making the power negative. All right. Inverse of x square is x to the power minus 2. Similarly, inverse of this quantity inside the bracket is just the minus power to it. So that's why I have taken minus half over here. All right. And then we will be using the binomial theorem. All right. This quantity 2a cos theta upon R is very, very smaller than 1 because A is the distance, this 2a is the distance between the dipoles. It is really very small, of the order of 10 to the power 5. And when you divide it by some quantity, it even becomes more smaller. So it is very, very smaller than 1. That's why we can apply the binomial theorem. And the binomial theorem, it says 1 plus x to the power n is equal to 1 plus nx. So we can easily be writing it as like this. All right. So using the binomial theorem and neglecting the higher powers, 1 upon R1 becomes 1 upon R, and inside the bracket 1 plus a cos theta by R, because the 2 that was in the numerator gets cancelled out by the half power. All right. 1 plus nx. When you multiply the x with n, the 2 gets cancelled out, and that minus becomes plus because we are multiplying it with minus half. Your n is minus half over here. See it? See this equation again? I do hope that you have written it in your notebooks also. So when you multiply this complete quantity with minus half, this 2 gets cancelled out with this 2, and this minus and this minus becomes plus. So you are left with 1 upon R, and inside the bracket 1 plus a cos theta upon R. All right. So that's what I have written it over here. So 1 upon R1 is equal to 1 by R, and inside the bracket it is 1 plus a cos theta by R. So you have got the value of 1 upon R1. Now we need to find the value of 1 upon R2. So see this. Similarly, we need to apply the cosine law in triangle OAP. So in triangle OAP, we need to apply the cosine law. All right. So please apply the cosine law and write it in your notebook. And I'm giving you 30 seconds to apply it. And I'll be resuming my explanation thereafter. So applying the cosine law in triangle OAP, I can write like this: R2 square is equal to R square plus A square minus 2RA cos 180 degree minus theta, because the angle is now 180 degree minus theta, and this R2 square, it becomes equal to R square plus A square minus 2RA cos 180 degree minus theta, and cos 180 minus theta is equal to minus cos theta. We know this. So in place of this cos 180 minus theta, I can write minus cos theta, and that minus and this minus get cancelled out, and you'll be having a plus over here. The value of R2 square becomes R square plus A square plus 2RA cos theta. All right, because cos 180 degree minus theta is minus cos theta. That's why this minus gets converted to plus. Now we need to do the same procedure. Take R2 square common, and when we are taking this R2 square common, I can be writing it as 1 plus A square upon R square plus 2RA cos theta by R. All right. So this R square I have taken common. That becomes 1 plus A square upon R square plus 2A cos theta by R. All right. So this R from this cos theta term, it gets cancelled out because we have taken R square common, then it comes in the denominator, 1 R gets cancelled out. Now again take the square root of this, and we can neglect this A square upon R square since it is very small. So since the value of A is very small as compared to R, then A square upon R square can be easily neglected because it will be even more smaller. And we can write, by taking the square root of this, R2 is equal to R times, in brackets, 1 plus 2A cos theta by R to the power half. That's what we can do. Same thing we are doing that we have done in the previous one. Just we have taken the angle as 180 degree minus theta, and that's why plus sign is there. All right, in this expression. So when we have taken neglecting this A square upon R square and taking the square root of this, we are left with R2 is equal to R 1 plus 2A cos theta by R to the power half. And again, we need to apply the binomial theorem. So when we'll be applying the binomial theorem, 1 plus x to the power n can be written as 1 plus nx. You need to multiply this complete term 2A cos theta by R with half. When you are multiplying it with half, this 2 gets cancelled out with this 2, and you are left with only 1 plus A cos theta by R. All right, that's what you are left with. So I can easily be writing it like this: 1 upon R2 is equal to 1 upon R in bracket 1 plus 2A cos theta by R to the power minus half. All right. Why so? Because first I have taken the inverse of it. So first take the inverse and then apply the binomial theorem. First we need to take the inverse because we want the value of 1 upon R2, not value of R2 only. We want the value of 1 upon R2 that can be used in our equation number 1. So 1 upon R2, it becomes 1 by R, 1 plus 2A cos theta by R to the power minus half. And then you have to apply the binomial theorem. 1 plus x to the power n can be written as 1 plus nx. So this minus half has to be multiplied by with 2A cos theta by R. And when you multiply it, this plus and this minus, it becomes minus, and 2 gets vanished out. All right. And you are left with 1 minus A cos theta by R. In the bracket, you are left with 1 minus 2A cos theta by R. So you can write it like this. So using the binomial theorem and neglecting the higher power, 1 upon R2, it becomes equal to 1 by R inside the bracket, 1 minus A cos theta by R. And this is our equation number 3. I hope it is clear. So now we have obtained the value of 1 upon R1 and also the value of 1 upon R2. So those values we can easily be using in our equation number 1. So you have written equation number 1. All right, that is V equal to KQ, and inside the bracket 1 upon R1 minus 1 upon R2. So we will be using the values of 1 upon R1 and 1 upon R2 in equation number 1. So the final equation becomes like this. So the total potential at point P, capital V, is equal to KQ, and in place of 1 upon R1 I have written this expression, and in place of 1 upon R2 I have written the equation number 3 expression that we have obtained in equation number 3. All right, so 1 upon R1 minus 1 upon R2, and this sign is because it was there in the equation number 1. All right, 1 upon R, 1 plus A cos theta upon R. This is the value of 1 by R2, R1, and this is the value of 1 upon R2. Now we need to solve it up. So solving it further, first open this minus sign. I open the bracket with this minus sign. So we are left with this thing. So I have multiplied it. I have multiplied 1 by R inside the bracket. So 1 multiplied by 1 by R, it becomes 1 by R only. And A cos theta by R multiplied by 1 by R, it becomes A cos theta by R square. Now again, 1 by R has to be multiplied by the terms in the bracket. So 1 multiplied by 1 by R is 1 by R, and this minus sign will be there, and then A cos theta upon R square. All right, so that's what I have done. So inside the brackets, I have just multiplied this 1 by R, and then again open up this bracket with the help of this minus. So this 1 by R becomes minus, and A cos theta upon R square, it becomes plus. All right, so inside this bigger bracket we are left with 4 terms: 1 by R, A cos theta upon R square, and then minus 1 by R plus A cos theta by R square. This 1 by R is with minus sign, and it gets cancelled out with this 1 by R, and you are left with A cos theta upon R square plus A cos theta upon R square, and it comes out to be V is equal to KQ 2A cos theta upon R square. This A cos theta upon R square plus A cos theta upon R square is 2A cos theta upon R square, and this KQ was there outside the bracket, so I have just multiplied it with this. All right, please digest this, try to engulf it out, that what I have told you. I'm giving you 30 seconds for the same, and still you are having some problem, please raise hand. So the final expression that we have obtained. Okay, Nisha is asking me something, so let me answer her first. All right, she wants to know this thing, that why we have used this 180 degree minus theta when we are finding the cosine law for R2. So we have applied the cosine law in triangle AOP. The angle is 180 minus theta only. All right, and to this angle the opposite side is R2. So we will be writing R2 square is equal to R square plus A square minus 2RA cos 180 degree minus theta. Earlier we are finding for R1 and we have applied it in OPB, but now we have to apply it in triangle AOP. That's why. I hope it is clear to you. Still, if you are having some doubt, please ask. This was the expression that we have obtained for the electric potential at point P, and it comes out to be K Q 2A cos theta upon R square. And this term Q into 2A, I have asked you to write it somewhere in your notebook at the start of this presentation. So this Q into 2A is P, that is the electric dipole moment. So I can replace these two terms with P. So the final expression for the electric potential at point P, which is at a distance R from the center O of the dipole, is given as Kp cos theta by R square. All right, in place of Q into 2A, I have written P, that is the electric dipole moment. Okay, product of one of the charges and the distance between the dipoles. All right, now this K can be replaced as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. So I can also write it like this. This K is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught when the charges of the dipole are placed in the vacuum. If it is in some other medium, then this epsilon naught gets replaced by the permittivity of that medium, epsilon. All right. So this 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, I have replaced this K with 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is one alternate expression. You can write it like this also. So expression of electric potential due to dipole at any general point P, which is at a distance r from the center O of the dipole. So this is that expression. All right. Now we have obtained the expression for the electric potential due to a dipole at any general point. What will be the case if this point P is lying at the perpendicular bisector, that is the equatorial point, and what will be the case if it is lying on the axis of the dipole, that is the axial point. So let's do that. All right. So we can easily be taking it as case 1 and case 2. Fine. So we are having some special cases. So this was the expression that we have obtained. V is equal to Kp cos theta upon r square. The final expression at any general point capital P, which is at a distance r from the center of the dipole. Now, special cases. Case 1. When the point P lies on the axial line of the dipole on the side of plus q charge, then theta is equal to 0 degree. See, if this point P, let me tell you about it. All right. If this point P is lying somewhere over here, all right. See, if this point P is somewhere over here on the axis of this dipole, you can see it. All right, this point P, I've taken this point P from here and I've put it over here. The point that is marked with red color. All right. So if this point P is at this location, the angle between this electric dipole moment, that is from -2 plus charge, that is P, the theta becomes 0 degree. All right, because it is over here. So theta we always take in anti-clockwise, it is 0 degree. P is in the same direction along with R. So it is 0 degree. All right. So when it is a 0 degree, cos 0 is 1. We know this cos 0 is 1. So the expression gets modified as Kp upon r square. So this is the expression for the electric potential due to a dipole at an axial point, provided that axial point is lying on the side of the plus q charge. So it is Kp upon r square, where r is the distance of that point from the midpoint of the dipole. All right. So for the axial point, theta becomes 0 degree. This point P, it comes over here. All right. Now, what if this point P is towards the negative side, towards the charge, which is having negative magnitude? So this point P, it can also be lying over here. You can see it. This point P, it can be lying over here also. All right. So in that case, theta becomes 180 degree. All right. So theta becomes 180 degree in this case. And you can write the expression when this point P lies on the axial line of the dipole, but it is towards the negative side, negative charge side, -2, then theta is 180 degree and cos 180. It should be 180. Please mark it 180. Cos 180 is equal to -1. All right. So we know this. Cos 180 is -1. And when we put -1 over here, the equation becomes like this. It is minus Kp upon r square. And it is also the expression for the electric potential due to a dipole at an axial point. But this time the point is lying towards the charge, which is having negative magnitude. All right. What if the point is lying at the perpendicular bisector? All right. So this point P, it can also be lying at the perpendicular bisector of this dipole. So in that case, angle theta becomes equal to 90 degree. All right. And cos 90 is 0. We know this. So if this point P, it is lying somewhere like this. Let me make it for you. If this point P, it is lying like this. So from this, on this line, this is a perpendicular bisector. So if it is lying on this line, somewhere like this. So this is my point P now. You can see I have marked it with. All right. So this is my point P, somewhere over here in the blue color. All right. So now the angle between the electric dipole moment and the position vector for this point P is 90 degree. So this is 90 degree now. Theta becomes 90 degree. Cos 90 is 0, and it is equal to 0 degree. The potential at this point, that is at the equatorial point, it becomes equal to 0. Why so? Because cos 90 is 0. When you put 90 over here, the whole expression becomes 0. So we can say this thing, that the potential due to a dipole at an equatorial point is equal to 0. Okay, so if you find the electric potential at an equatorial point of dipole, it will always come out to be 0. Okay, it does not matter at all at what distance from the center the point is located, because it will be 0 whether the point is located over here or here or here. On any distance on the equatorial line, the electric potential due to a dipole is 0. All right, so this is all about the derivation of the electric potential due to a dipole. Okay, let's start up with some other topics that I need to discuss with you today. That is the electric potential at a given point due to a system of charges. So let's do that. All right. The next topic, we need to find the electric potential due to a system of charges. So let us consider that Q1, Q2, Qn, n number of charges are present with position vector R1, R2, and Rn, and they are relative to some origin. So this my point P is lying over here, such that the distance of this point P from this charge Q1 is R1P, from the charge Q2 is R2P, from the charge Q3, the point P lies at a distance R3P, and from the charge Q4, this point P, it lies at a distance R4P. Similarly, from the charge Q5, this point P, it lies at a distance R5P. We need to find the electric potential at point P because of all these charges, or n number of charges are present. We need to find because of the n number of charges. So what we'll be doing? The potential V1 at point P because of the charge Q1. So first we need to find the because of charge Q1, then because of Q2, then Q3, and up to Qn, and then we need to take the algebraic sum of them. All right. So the electric potential V1 at P because of the charge Q1, it can be written like this: V1 is equal to KQ upon R1P. All right. Similarly, the electric potential at point P because of the charges Q2 and Q3, it can be given as KQ upon R2P, and because of V3 it is KQ upon R3P up to the nth charge. For the nth charge, it will be KQ upon Rnp. All right. So we need to find the individual potentials at point P because of all these charges, and then we need to take the algebraic sum of them. V1 KQ upon R1P, V2 KQ upon R2P, V3 KQ upon R3P, and then we need to take the algebraic sum. So the total potential at point P, that is V, because of this charge configuration, is the algebraic sum of the potentials due to the individual charges. So we can write it like this. Capital V is the total potential at point P, can be written as V1 plus V2 plus V3 up to Vn. All right. Very simple one. All the thing we have done. I am just making you people to do this thing. If there is a question, you can easily be able to do that. We've already covered these things. All right. So it becomes like this. In place of V1, I have written KQ1 upon R1P. In place of V2, I have written KQ2 upon R2P. In place of V3, I have written KQ3 upon R3P. And up to, in place of Vn, it is KQn upon Rnp. You can take K as common, and the final expression, it comes out to be like this. So this is the expression for electric potential at point P because of n number of charges, provided we are knowing the distance of all the charges from the given point. All right. And in place of this K, we can also write 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. All right. So that's what I have written in this expression. I hope it is clear. Still, if you are having some doubts, please ask. I'm giving you 30 seconds time to ask, and then I'll be moving towards the next topic to come. See, we can also find the electric potential for a dipole by one alternate method. And this is an easier one as compared to the one that we have done. But the tougher one I have made you do by myself. I have done it for you. Now you have to do it on your own. Okay. So that you will be having an understanding that what actually you have learned. So let me give you a glimpse that what we will be doing in this. All right. See, this is an electric dipole. AB is an electric dipole of length 2a and O is the midpoint of the dipole. All right. And we are having charges minus Q present at A and plus Q present at B. Now, you can easily be finding out the electric potential because of this dipole by taking first take an axial point and then take an equatorial point. Not for the general case we are doing, just the general point case we have done in the previous section. So what if the question comes like this only, that find the electric potential because of a dipole at an equatorial point. All right, see, the examiner, it wants only this thing, that it is just you need to find the electric potential because of a dipole at an equatorial point or at an axial point only. Okay, not at a general point. So you can approach the problem like this. It's very simpler one actually. So you see, take one equatorial point, or you have to take one axial point. Let's take an axial point. So see, so this is let's take an axial point. First, I should be taking an axial point. So let's take an axial point, capital P. All right. So this is P. My P is axial point, and it is at a distance small r from the center of the dipole. All right. So let's take it. So this is the distance of this point P from the center of the dipole. It is small r. All right. So let's take it. This small r. All right. So now we need to find the electric potential at point P. This is an axial point lying at a distance small r from the center of the dipole. So what we can do? First find the electric potential at point P because of the charge present at B. Then find the electric potential at point P because of the charge present at A, and then add them up. That's what we need to do. And for doing so, we need to know the distance between the plus Q charge and point P and minus Q charge and point P. So what is this distance? Can anyone tell me what is this distance between the point B and point P? Because B at this plus Q charge is lying at point B. So we need to know this distance in order to find the electric potential, that is kq upon r. So that r we need to know. What is the distance between this? Please tell me, or write in the chat box, or either say it loud. Okay, Nivedita, she wants to say. So what's the distance, Nivedita, once again? It is r minus a. All right. So this distance we know, r minus a, and the distance between minus q and point P, that is AP, is r plus a. All right. So you can easily be finding it like this. You can finding it like this, that electric potential at P due to plus Q charge. All right. And that is equal to KQ divided by R minus A. You can easily be writing it like this. All right. So this is your V1. All right. Similarly, you can writing electric potential at point at P due to minus Q charge, that is V2, is equal to KQ divided by R plus A. R plus A. In order to find the total electric potential, you need to add them up. Okay, so that I am leaving you as an homework for you. And that has to be equal to the special case 1 or 2, that you have special case 1 because the point is towards the positive charge. So it has to be equal to the special case 1 results that we have obtained. All right. So that I am leaving you as an homework. Also, you need to find the electric potential at an equatorial point, and that has to be 0. So the equatorial point will be somewhere over here. You can see it. If we need to take the equatorial point, it will be somewhere over this perpendicular bisector line. All right, like this. All right, so it must be lying somewhere on this perpendicular bisector line with the red color dot I've drawn it. All right, so you need to find the distance. So first you will be finding this distance, the distance of this point on the equatorial point from the plus q charge. You need to find it. All right, so that has to be like this. So this distance you will be finding first, and then you need to find the distance of this equatorial point from the charge plus q. So it has to be somewhere like this. Like this. That you need to find. What is the value? It will be root of a square plus r square, because the point P is lying at a distance r na. So this distance has to be r. We are taking an equatorial point that is lying at a distance r. All right. So this was r. When you will be finding for the equatorial point, the distance of point P from the center of the dipole is r. So if this is r, this is small a, AO is small a, half of the distance of the dipole. All right. This is small a. And this is also small a. That is OB. So you can easily be finding this distance, that is AP or AQ you can say, because you have taken P over here. So this AQ, it becomes, easily you can find it as root of a square plus r square. And this BQ is also the root of a square plus r square. Then find out the electric potential at Q because of the charge present at A, and also the electric potential at Q because of the charge present at B, and then add them up. This approach we have applied for the case of electric field. When we were finding the electric field because of dipole, we have applied this approach only. We have first taken an axial point and then taken an equatorial point, and then we have individually found out the this electric field, and then we are okay with that. That we know the expression for the electric field at the equatorial point as well as at the axial point. But now we have taken the general approach, and this is also one thing that you can do in order to save up your time. Because if the question comes like this, that you need to find the electric potential at an equatorial point only, then why to go through that cumbersome expressions? Just find it like this. Take the equatorial point, take the find out the distances, and then solve it. It will be 0 only. And if the question comes like this, that you need to find the electric potential at a point that is on the axis of the dipole at an axial point, then you can directly take an axial point which is at distance r, and then find the individual potentials at the axial point because of the plus q charge as well as the minus q charge, and then add them up. All right. So that's what I'm leaving as an homework for you. So this is your homework. All right. To do it with an alternate method, that is to find the derivation for the potential of a potential due to a dipole at an axial point as well as an equatorial point. So that's all that I want to discuss in today's class. If you are having some doubts, I'll be opening up the lines. You can easily be asking me anything which you want to ask. Okay. Okay. Thank you for joining. And if you are still having some problems and queries, please mail me your queries at the email, or you can also be contacting me on the phone. Thank you very much for joining. Thanks a lot.